The Galactic Council had grown comfortable in their cruelty. For 3 centuries they had harvested worlds, strip-mined civilizations, and treated lesser species as expendable resources. The Zephyrians provided manual labor until their bodies gave out. The crystalline communes offered their entire planet's core before extinction. The Void Dancers surrendered their children to scientific experimentation without resistance. And then, there were the humans. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in the pristine white chamber, her small frame dwarfed by the towering alien representatives surrounding her. The Council of 12 had summoned Earth's diplomatic corps to deliver what they called the final terms. Humanity's homeworld would be evacuated, its population relocated to designated labor colonies, its resources claimed for the greater galactic good. "Your species has been adequate," rumbled Overlord Kithax, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber's harsh lights. "But your world occupies a strategically valuable position. We require it for military expansion." The ethereal magistrate, a being of pure energy contained within crystalline matrices, pulsed with cold light. "You should feel honored. Few species receive such generous relocation terms. Most are simply eliminated." Around the circular chamber, the other council members nodded their various appendages in agreement. They had done this countless times before. Present the ultimatum, accept the inevitable surrender, process the paperwork, move on to the next conquest. But Sarah Chen wasn't like the other ambassadors they had broken. She had been born in the ruins of old Shanghai, where humanity had rebuilt after the resource wars. She had watched her grandmother die in a refugee camp, whispering stories of a time when humans chose their own destiny. She had seen her brother volunteer for the asteroid mines, selling 20 years of his life so their family could afford basic medicine. The humans had tried everything else. Diplomatic protests that were ignored. Economic sanctions that meant nothing to a galactic empire. Military resistance that was crushed within hours by weapons that could shatter moons. Now they wanted to take even their world. Sarah looked around the chamber, studying each council member's face. She saw the casual indifference of absolute power, the boredom of beings who had reduced genocide to administrative procedure, the complete absence of doubt that their will would be obeyed. "No more," she whispered. The words were so quiet that the chamber's translation matrix almost missed them, but in the sudden silence that followed, they echoed like thunder. Overlord Kithax's compound eyes focused on the tiny human. "Did you just refuse?" Sarah stood slowly, her hands trembling, not with fear, but with something the council had never encountered from a conquered species, pure, unfiltered rage. "No more," she repeated louder this time. "No more evacuations, no more relocations, no more processing our people like inventory, no more." The crystalline commune's representative actually flickered with surprise. "You cannot be serious. Your military was destroyed. Your fleet is scrap metal. You have no leverage." "You're right," Sarah said, her voice growing steady. "We have no ships that can challenge yours, no weapons that can pierce your shields, no technology that can match your ancient empires." She took a step forward, and something in her posture made several council members unconsciously lean back. "But you know what we do have? Something you've forgotten in all your centuries of easy conquest." Her eyes swept the chamber. "We have nothing left to lose." The Void Dancer delegation shifted nervously. In their gaseous forms they could sense emotional currents that solid beings missed, and what they sensed from this human was unlike anything in their experience. A complete absence of the survival instinct that made species predictable. "Every other race you've broken still hoped for survival," Sarah continued. "They surrendered because they wanted their children to live even as slaves. They submitted because existing in chains felt better than not existing at all." The ethereal magistrate's light dimmed. "This is the natural order. The strong rule. The weak serve. See, that's where you made your mistake," Sarah said, and now she was smiling. It was not a pleasant expression. "You assumed we wanted to survive. You thought we'd choose chains over death like every other species you've encountered. She reached into her diplomatic pouch and every security system in the chamber activated. Energy barriers snapped into place, weapons powered up, alarms began to wail. Sarah pulled out a small, unremarkable device. To most eyes, it looked like a simple communication unit. "This is a quantum entanglement transmitter," she said conversationally. "It's connected to every human colony, every space station, every ship still capable of receiving signals. And do you know what message I'm about to send?" The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop. The council members, beings who had faced down stellar dreadnoughts and consumed civilizations, found themselves experiencing an emotion they had nearly forgotten: fear. "The message is simple," Sarah continued. "It's 2 words that will reach every human in the galaxy simultaneously. 2 words that will tell them exactly what choice we're making." Her finger hovered over the transmitter's activation key. "You see, you never bothered to study our history very carefully. If you had, you would have learned something important about humans. When we have nothing left to lose, we don't surrender." The Overlord's voice cracked like breaking stone. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that in about 30 seconds, every human in the galaxy is going to receive a very specific message, and then they're going to do what humans do best when backed into a corner." She pressed the key. Across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds and 10,000 ships, human receivers activated. The message was brief, transmitted in the old language of Earth, scorched Earth. Within hours, human colonies began to burn, not from external attack but from within. Power cores overloaded. Atmosphere processors shut down. Orbital platforms detonated. Every piece of infrastructure that had made human worlds valuable to the Council was systematically destroyed by human hands. The slave factories on Kepler 442b exploded when human workers overrode the safety systems. The mining operations on Europa went dark as human engineers collapsed the tunnels. The research stations studying human physiology found their subjects had somehow coordinated mass suicide. But that was only the beginning. The humans didn't just destroy their own assets. They had been watching, learning, infiltrating for decades. They had cleaned the floors in council facilities and memorized security codes. They had maintained equipment and left hidden surprises. They had smiled and nodded while cataloging every weakness in the galactic infrastructure. Now they used that knowledge. Trade routes collapsed as human-maintained navigation beacons broadcast false coordinates. Council ships found their life. Support systems failing as human-manufactured components activated hidden subroutines. Entire sectors went dark as humans who had been dismissed as mere technicians revealed they had been placing strategic vulnerabilities for years. The Council had built their empire on the assumption that conquered species would always choose survival over resistance. They had never encountered a people who would burn their own world rather than see it taken. As reports flooded in from across the galaxy, the Council members stared at the human ambassador who had remained perfectly calm throughout their empire's collapse. "You're insane," whispered the ethereal magistrate. Sarah Chen smiled. "No, we're human. And now you understand the difference." In the end, it wasn't superior technology or overwhelming force that brought down the Galactic Council. It was one human woman who whispered, "No more," and meant it. The galaxy would remember that whisper for a very long time.